G'day guys, my name's Chris. I call myself the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome to the channel. For all my regulars, welcome back. This video, I'm going to shock you. Well, maybe not. Most of my regulars will have a bit of a hint. Most of you that clicking on this because it's not clickbait, all right? It's a real video about my life and what I'm living amongst. So I thought I'll shock you all, I'll take you all behind the scenes. I will show you everything that I have ahead of me, all my sheds, all my clutter, all my junk. I am not a hoarder. Okay, I'm a hoarder, but I have a get out of jail free card. The thing is, I'm a second-hand dealer. I have a shop. I buy deceased estates. I clean out other people's sheds. I've just finished a big long saga of cleaning out my parents' farm. They were there for 60 years. There's an entire playlist on that. I get e-waste all the time. I pick it up regularly from the charity shop and I process it. People drop off stuff at the shop all the time. I knock back house clean-outs very regularly. Some of them I just can't say no to. And that's why I've got all this stuff. Now, I had to move from my old shop a few years back. Everything got moved to my emergency storage shed that I had in storage at the back of that shop. And we do a regular weekly video on getting something out of that shed, which is kind of just next door. That's why I'm pointing that way. So my regulars will know all that, but no one has really seen all of my stash. Probably not even Christine, my partner. So in this video, we're going to do a walk around. I'll show you everything I have ahead of me. I'm going to make a few, let's just say, sensible decisions to enable me to get to a bit more of it than what I have been, because quite often it comes in quicker than it goes out. And I believe I do have a limited lifespan, so I want to get to the stuff that I really enjoy doing rather than labour away with stuff that, yes, it's enjoyable, but perhaps not quite so much. So that gives you a bit of a hint. And though regulars will know that I was doing a Monday Marathon e-waste video every week, and I've actually shelved that. It was becoming a bit repetitive. We're getting the same stuff each week. So I'm going to cut back on some of that. A few other things I'm going to cut back on. I'll talk about that as we walk around. Okay, strap yourselves in. Let's go for a tour. Now, my regulars will be well aware of this being the emergency storage shed. It's the entranceway into my main shed as well. It was actually tacked on the front. And there's a bit of clutter outside, a bit of scrap metal and stuff to deal with. I'm always going to dabble in scrap metal because it's good fun, and let's face it, scrap prices are pretty good at the moment. And there usually is a pile outside the door of e-waste that I've processed that has to go to the transfer station, and various other bits and pieces that have to be moved from here, and they kind of get shoved out the door, and that's as far as they get. We'll go into the shed first. This is the emergency storage shed, and yes, it does end up with a bit of clutter in here in between episodes. I do have to admit that I move a few things out before we film each week, but you can see we have made pretty good headway. We're well past halfway now in cleaning out this shed, and most of this stuff that was in here had been moved from my old shop under emergency situations because they sold the premises, and I had to be out by a certain date, and then I've set up in the shop next door with Christine. So the shelves on this side are refilled with projects because I do like to fix things. Shelves on this side, there's some stuff I'm going to keep, there's some other stuff I still have to sort out, and most of the stuff from here on down we have not even unpacked. So a weekly video for something out of this shed every week. Well, that's what weekly means, I guess. And we're having a lot of fun doing that. It's a voyage of discovery, and we're getting a fair bit of value. In fact, what I've emptied out of this shed so far has realised about $28,000 at the moment of stuff that I've rescued out of here and sold in the shop. Some of the stuff I don't sell though, so it's been very good value. All right, I'll actually draw a quick plan of my shed once we finish going through it, so you can actually see how it lays out. So here's the entrance into the original shed, and this shed was here when we bought the property. I might even be able to find a bit of a clip of how it was when we first bought it. If I can, I'll put that in now. And then we walk through here, and these cupboards were the original kitchen in the house before we renovated. And there's various other cupboards that I've rounded up in my travels, and they're full of stuff, full of projects. You're going to catch me saying a lot about things that I'm going to do that up one day, or that'll be handy one day. And, you know, you all know the cliches of a hoarder. This pile, this was actually supposed to be a walkway here to get into these white cupboards, which has paint and a few other bits and pieces in it, and I can't possibly get to them at the moment. So this stack of milk crates and all the stuff in front is residual farm stuff. I've got quite a few piles of farm stuff still to go through from the Great Farm cleanup. And other things just get stacked. There's laptops stacked on an old timber footstool that I might make some more of one day. I have lots of ideas for projects, and of course we all know I'll never get to most of them, but I do need to rationalise and start pulling out some. A nice pedestal drill came from a shed clean out. I will set that up one day. You'll hear the term one day a lot. Here we have a bit of gardening stuff that Christine did nicely organise, and I've consequently filled every available bench space with stuff that I'm sorting out. There's more just general garden stuff in those cupboards, and the cupboards up the top are affectionately known as the cupboards of death, because that's where all the garden chemicals are. Obviously they need to be out of the road of grandkids and pets. Right, a quick browse around my main workshop. It's pretty cluttered, isn't it? You don't normally see all this, certainly from this angle. The bench in the middle where the ring light is where you see me do a lot of repairs. So I kind of have little narrow tracks. The anvil you can often see in various shots. That gets used quite a lot. Piles and piles of stuff. It tends to get stacked neatly, and then I run out of room and put things on top of neat stacks, and they become disorganized stacks, and then occasionally there's a little bit of a landslip or an avalanche, and yeah, you all know the story, but probably not to the same extent. My toolbox really has become a bit of a pile of stuff, so I probably only use half a dozen tools out of the front, and the rest I can't get to, so I do need to rationalise that. Christine helped me put some screwdriver racks up a couple of years back, and well, I can't even get to them now. I sort out a lot of hardware into jars, which many of you know, and I sell that through the shop, so that little shelf unit's used quite a lot. And I did start at one stage cleaning off this workbench over here, and it's just been piled with stuff. So yeah, it's probably a little embarrassing for me to show you all this, but I thought, hey, what the hell, let's show it as it is, and we will go through the process over a period of time of actually making some sense out of it all. There's a bike that I started a repair video on once and I never finished. We will get back to that. We have the touch lamp department. I don't know why I started putting them there, but I thought I'll fix some of them up, and then next time I find a touch lamp it goes to the same spot, and then it becomes a pile. The sandblaster cabinet over there I bought with great intentions. I've used it I think twice, so I need to get back and make that operational. A lot of little storage units here, which I have actually sorted out, and I do know I access those for various things. But there's stuff underneath here that I need to sort out. I have probably at least a dozen chainsaws around that I'm going to restore one day. There's that phrase again. Some of these are just empty boxes. There's fluoro lights. There's picture framing stuff. There's some really nice old antique lamps. There's some pretty good stuff amongst all this. But I just need to get rid of the clutter and start doing some of the better projects. I do have a Triton workbench here. And there's, I think, a router table too. But I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to actually make some room in the middle of this shed to start the organisation process. And if I need some timber workbench and saw bench setups down the track, I'll buy a new one. I think that's the easiest way to go. So rather than save everything because I might use it one day, I'm going to start rationalising and selling off some stuff, making some room, being more productive, and then buying new stuff when I need it. So we'll walk around here, another little narrow track which leads around to my small workshop. I'll show you that in a minute. It's just round to the right. There's my wood heater that over winter I use, but over summer, because it's not used, it becomes somewhere to stack things. Lots of projects ahead of me too. I only save that vacuum cleaner because when I use the sandblasting cabinet, it'll be a good extractor fan. Most of that. Oh, look, there's still some Makita stuff, brand new in box that I've never unpacked. So I do need to get more organised to do all that. I have a stack of hard drives lying around the place and I'm going to do a video on. More projects in here. There's a number of different metal detectors. They're quite vintage ones that I'm going to fix up. We have some paints and varnishes and things that I do use up there. And this leads us round to this little room that I built. When we first moved into this house, I built this room in the corner of the shed. Oh, incidentally, that cupboard behind the timber is full of old radios and projects. And this is a great little room. This is my sanctuary, my little man cave where I can hide from the world, full of clutter, lots of clocks to repair, some bit of stereo gear, and an old computer there that I need to have more accessible. And you'll see some videos done on that workbench there, but you don't usually see the surrounding clutter. So it's been quite hot here, so I've had a little cooler here as well. And the floor is restricted now to just a little track to the seat, and a lot more projects, old clocks, stereo gear in the pile there. And if I actually come in here and spin around, well, the radio's still on, luckily there's no music. There's more clocks and things up there, including a mid-1800s grandfather clock that I would like to fix one day. I can't even get to the base of it. So there we go, that's my main workshop. A few people have said, you know, is it just the storage shed that has all the clutter? Well, by comparison, the storage shed's actually got more floor space and substantially neater than in here. Now, if I can interrupt the tour just for a second, I've drawn out a scaled plan just to give you an idea of relative sizes of the rooms. The emergency storage shed, which many of you are familiar with, is here. So there's the sliding door coming in. The main workshop, my little office area, which we've just been in, and the studio, which we'll be going into shortly. That's the boundary fence. So this back section and the side section we will walk through in a minute. This is a fixed bench. Well, it's not fixed, but it's so heavy it may as well be fixed. So that's on the outside. You'll see that in a second as well. And also I'm just about to talk about this double wall here. When they built the storage shed, it just butted up against two big sliding doors. So we'll talk about that shortly as well. And a permanent bench across this end. So that gives you an accurate layout of the shed. To put it in, I didn't write any sizes on the paper, but it's around about 7.5 meters this way by, I forget how much it worked out that way. Might have been 7.5 that way and about 8 meters that way. I know our studio is actually 10 meters by 7 meters, and I've marked windows and things. So we will refer to this plan down the track when I'm actually laying it out, and you may have suggestions about how I can lay it out. Okay, back to our walk around. And as I gradually get things empty, I might ask you guys for some input on how best to lay out my workshop down the track, because I do have a lathe to bring in here, and I would like perhaps to have an area for electric repairs, maybe an area for metalwork, maybe a woodwork area. Not sure how I'm going to work all that yet. The edge of this shed is two huge big roller doors. Obviously they can't be used anymore because the other shed's been built up against them. And I think that end I actually had started lining. So that wall will probably come out. And as we empty the emergency storage shed, we can actually gain a bit of space. So I'll just come around here again. So the frame of the emergency storage shed, I can cut these steel doors out down the track, and I think we'll be gaining probably the best part of 1/2 foot, 8 inches or so of extra space, and that will be on the other side of this wall. So there you go, that gives you a better idea. So there's actually going to be quite a bit of space we'll gain once I remove those old doors, and this will just simply, the timber frame will simply be a dividing wall between the two sheds, and the opening through this part will be larger because that will open then right back to here, which means I'll be able to get bigger items into the workshop. At the moment, if I wanted to fix up a lawnmower, I would have to carry the thing in on its side. So there we go, that's my main workshop, but that's not all the clutter I have. Let's have a quick walk outside again. The area between our studio and my shed has some great big shelves we put here, which are really good, but I've stacked them. There's a lot of scrap metal that is organised. There's also some timber, and there's lots of old kitchen appliances that I'm going to scrap, and I've kept them because I was going to do a video on scrapping certain types. I might just give up on that idea for now and just clean them all up, because that space will be useful. And a lot of timber is stacked around the back. Will we walk through here? Well, it's not really a walk, it's a bit of a shimmy. Lots of timber, usable timber, and I do use stuff all the time from back here. Sorry about the sun coming through there. There's some whippersnippers I was going to fix. And if we just scan down the back of the shed, we've roofed in this little section for timber storage to keep it out of the weather. So I'm happy enough with this area. It probably needs a little bit more organising though. Let's go down the back here then. So I can still walk down here. That's, you know, that's a plus. And there's lots of good old timber here. There's some really old floorboards we rescued from an old house once that I have built some stuff from. It's been a bit windy. The area at the back here is a bit of a scrap metal area, which I'm starting to get organised just to store my scrap until I've got enough for a run to Melbourne. So that's okay, I'm happy with this back here. More old timber stacked on the, we've got some dirt bays made out of pallets. I have some compost bins over here, but I can't really access them to do much with them. I'd like to get them back into operation. And just a wood pile and a bit of a stack of microwaves for parts. And back through under this tree, there's numerous lawnmowers residing and a bit more scrap metal. So it's rather junky around here, and I do need to clean this up a bit. So there's a mower under that tub. There's a mower over there. And that's a recent pickup, the Massport, and that actually goes quite well. And there's another mower under that, just under that tree there. And there's a mulching thing here. I picked it up at a garage sale for $10, I think. And I was going to do a video on fixing it up. It's got a, I can't get to it. It's got a 5 horsepower petrol engine under there, but it's a Chinese one. It's not an original Honda. Anyway, that's the clutter around my shed. But wait, there's more. Oh, I forgot. This stack here under the tarps is a whole heap of over 100-year-old Oregon timber beams that came from an old shop that was demolished, and the guy was going to burn them. And some of them are probably close to 20 feet long. They were a bit rotten in places, but beautiful old timber beams. And yes, the story is I was going to make something out of them one day, but if I ever decide to quit those, I could sell them for a fair bit. But at the moment, they're happy there. So from the shed we walk up the path here, or the boardwalk, and you'll notice 3 CRT computer monitors. They were dropped off in my driveway just the other day. I don't even know by who, but I was pretty happy to see them there. We'll check them out at some stage. More projects. I told you they come in all the time. So here's our studio where we do a lot of table tennis training. We used to do some rock and roll dancing in here. And Christine features this room quite a bit with all her fabric. So yes, she's a hoarder as well, and zips under the seat there. But we don't have to go far to find TVs, old stereo gear, a vintage Apple computer, and some more clocks and stereos and vintage computer stuff. Oh look, more fabric. And round this side, we'll have our table tennis robot, but there's a whole heap of e-waste I picked up from a state school behind there, stacks of laptops. We'll get into that at some stage. And of course, my boombox collection. I'm an accidental boombox collector. I never really set out to collect them, but they're so cool and they just tend to find me. They like, you know, it followed me home, Mum, can I keep it? And a few other various interesting electronic bits there. And a nice old clock behind here that I believe, I was told that this was an early platform clock from the Flinders Street railway station in Melbourne. So I'm going to fix that up and have that on our deck. So another project. All right, let's go to the carport. Okay, what would you expect to find in a carport? No, not cars. A bit more timber, stacks of stuff from everywhere here. There's a lot of farm stuff here still. And there's a bit of old garage test equipment. But it got jumbled up, all this stuff, because some of it was on the deck and we had to clean the deck off for Christmas. I think that was last Christmas. And there's various other deliveries of things that I didn't have room for, so they just got put in the carport. So there's old engines, there's timber boxes, there's a sewing machine motor there. Someone dropped off this solar inverter that I could scrap, so we'll do that at some stage. And my lathe is over there. I have a Myford Super 7 lathe, which is going to go in my shed. That's all wrapped up under blankets there. I have sprayed it down with CRC so it shouldn't rust. A big carpet cleaning machine that I picked up from a shed recently. The lady just gave it to me. It was her husband's. He used to be in the business and he'd passed away. So it's worth a fair bit. It was just dropped off as e-waste. So I've got to get that fixed up. Now I'm going to reduce the quantity in here a little bit by one decision I'm going to make. I've been saving all the 10-cent deposit stuff. Plastic bottles, aluminium cans, they're all in these crates. Glass bottles. And in Australia, or at least in Victoria, they have a 10-cent deposit system, whereas they all say on the bottle somewhere 10 cents deposit collection. I forget what it says. I'll read it to you in a minute. And yes, I make a bit out of it. I took a load a while back and got nearly $100, and most of it comes from people that rent our Airbnb property, and I just check the bins, and because they're on holidays they quite often drink a lot, and I just grab all the containers and put them in tubs here. Trouble is, it takes up a lot of space, and for my time it's really not viable. So I'm going to devote the time that I was doing to this stuff to other things, like fixing up really cool equipment, rather than, you know, saving 10 cents at a time and getting a little bit of a return, and then I've got to do a trip to the depot to drop them off. So for the space they take up, I'm going to quit doing that, much the same as I've quit doing some of my e-waste on Monday Marathon videos, because it just takes so much time to do low value kettles and toasters and lamps, and it was becoming monotonous. I'd rather do interesting stereo gear, unpack boxes of shed things. There's a wood lathe in there. I forgot I owned that. I don't think I want to keep that. I think it'll probably be one to sell. So I'd rather dig out all this interesting stuff than just keep fixing toasters. And I'm sure you'll all agree. I'll still do a lot of the e-waste, but just not on camera. Okay, that's all the stuff at our house. But wait, there's more. We are now at the shop. We are closed today. That's why everything's packed down the aisles and there's no lights on. We only open Friday, Saturday and Sunday these days. And for those that are new here and have stuck through the video this far, I have done a shop tour recently. And yeah, we like to go around here every now and again and have a bit of a walk and talk about our stock. Christine makes a lot of stuff in here as well, but I'm not turning this into a shop tour. As I said, if you're new here, I'm sure you'll find it by searching my channel. Okay, but we do have a storeroom out here. There's a bit of stuff on my left here, stacked in boxes. But out through here, staff only, I have lots of shelves set up with little aisles, and a lot of the stuff out of my house when I lived next door behind my old shop was moved in here. And it was really neat and had little aisles, but it's just continued to fill up, and then I've been rummaging around looking for things and it becomes a bit of a jumble. So there's lots of good stuff in here still to dig out. There's a pile of, well, most of that under the electrical stuff there. Most of that's more farm stuff, so it's everywhere. I've got to go through that. Piled to the roof, there is a large cabinet back in. You can't even see it. It's totally buried, and it's full of old car manuals, workshop manuals. And into this room, a little extra storeroom here. There are piles and piles of, well, there's some shop stuff like paperwork and things I've had to file away. There's also lots of empty boxes and packaging because we do eBay work as well, and you've got to have that. Just a few more clocks. I have no idea how many clocks I own. It would be well into the hundreds. And around this side, I did start cleaning up back in this corner here a while back. It's a bit of a jumble because when we had a storm, it started to flood with water. I had to quickly put this bit of a curtain up to stop all the clocks getting wet because the roof leaks. But there's a lot more interesting stuff, light fittings, or more stereo gear. There's probably some computer stuff. I can't even get round there at the moment. And I've been looking for things, and so some boxes have tumbled down. So it really does look a mess at the moment. It looks like I've been robbed, to be honest. But no, there's a lot of stuff stacked in here, and a lot of good stuff. If we go around this way, I did actually start setting up a workbench here. I think I even did a video on that once. Never got back to it. Just got too many projects on the go. A lot of light globes and things that I use in the shop. And there's containers and more clocks and shelf units and vintage computer bits. A lot more stuff around there. I can't get through here because it's piled up in the walkway. More car manuals and things in here. And if I can swing the camera around, I won't be able to see, but you guys will. There's more hardware and things on the shelves. They're in jars. I've got to get into that and sort it out. So, whoops, the camera's come off the selfie stick. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in here. Lots of stuff to sort through. There's quite a lot of video content pulling all this stuff out, which we'll get to in due course. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of clutter around. There's still a lot of good value stuff I have hidden. Some of these boxes don't just have paperwork and stuff in. There's some valuable stuff. There's some pretty rare bottles. There's some old oil products. There's light fittings. There's some good stuff that I've stashed aside over the years. I think there's even boxes full of old coins. Some valuable stuff, and I just don't have time to get to it all the time, and it just gets stored and then it gets buried, and you know the story. Rightio, we'll finish at the shop. Let's go somewhere else on the way home. Yes, I told you there was more. My last spot here, a bit of a secret storage facility. I have some racking set up with lots of boxes of stuff. There's some more old radios and computer gear in there. There's a Honda Z50 mini bike. There's a larger Honda bike back there. A few of you long-time watchers will remember the shed I got those from. Some other small engine stuff. That was Dad's little runabout on the farm. And some tools. And I don't even remember what's in those boxes underneath there. So I do need to get into all this. And probably this might be sooner rather than later, because I am paying a little bit of rent on this spot. But I had to put it somewhere. And some of the bikes at the front, I might just move out and sell as they are. I don't have time to get into bike restorations. Or at least, you know, I'd like to, but sometimes you just got to move stuff on, and that air conditioner is just to be scrapped. But yeah, there's some pretty nice stuff in those boxes from memory. More stuff. Another series on YouTube, perhaps. Back home now in my shed, in a more familiar spot for you guys watching, and now you know what's around the perimeter that you can't see. So I hope you've enjoyed that journey. It was an access all areas, bare my soul to you, show you all my stuff that got ahead of me. Now, I don't want you to get me wrong. I'm not complaining about all this. I don't want to get a skip in and throw it out. I don't want to have a garage sale and clear it out. I'm fit, I'm healthy. I reckon I've got another 30 years at least in me, and I love processing stuff. So to me, this is actually awesome. And I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to hopefully gradually make some progress. Yes, I'd love to have a beautifully organised workshop. In reality, I think I'll enjoy the journey to getting that rather than actually having a perfectly organised workshop with everything in its place. I don't know that that's me. I like having jobs ahead of me. I do want to have more space to do things. And I must admit, one of the catalysts to get me on this line of thought of more concentrated cleaning up was that I was doing a customer job recently, and a tray of the screws that I took out of the casing fell off the back of my little bench here, and it took me 2 hours moving stuff to find them. There's so much clutter. Some of the screws ended up in other boxes. It was an oh no moment. I found all the parts. I finished the job, but it just made me probably think, all right, now's the time. Let's just actually make some space and make this workshop a little more functional. I may not necessarily get all of my haul processed whilst I'm on this earth, but I'd like to get most of it done. But you know what? If someone comes in the shop next week with a deceased estate to clean up, and there's a lot of radios and old tools and clocks, I'll probably buy it. Yep, there you go. I clearly got an illness, but am I worried about that? No. Am I happy? Yes. So there we go. Don't tell me to get a skip in because I won't listen to you. But I will appreciate any comments that you do happen to make, and as I make a little bit more room, I will appreciate any suggestions on workshop layout and perhaps what I can use various areas for. And in the past, you've had some great comments on what I should do with stuff. And yeah, some people say just sell it, but you know, I'll cross that bridge on each item when I come to it. But I will probably be a little bit more ruthless on stuff now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. A bit of a marathon this time. And my ongoing videos, my channel will maybe change slightly. I'm not going to be so structured. I'm certainly going to do my emergency storage shed box lot each week, but we won't be doing e-waste marathons like we were doing. And I think most of my videos, other than just repairs, will be, maybe you guys can pick. Maybe you say, why don't you do that box there, or why don't you do that and make a bit of room here? And I might be led by you guys as to what areas to work on and to make decisions and to clear out. And if we find some repair jobs while we're doing it, or restorations, I'll try and squeeze in some of those videos. There we go. Thanks for watching, guys. It was a long intro, it was a long conclusion, and it was a decent long walkabout in the middle. I hope you enjoyed it all. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.